Welcome to today's virtual adoption fair. My name is Megan, and I'll be your host for the event. I'm a volunteer with Mickaboo, just like all of the people presenting and producing today's adoption fair. Before we begin, let me tell you just a little bit about us. Mickaboo Companion Bird Rescue is a 501c3 nonprofit located in Northern California around Sacramento and the Bay Area. We are dedicated to the care and rescue for companion birds as small as finches to as large as macaws. We're an all-volunteer organization, and our birds are fostered in private homes. We don't have an office, sanctuary, or physical location. We have over 450 birds in our foster care, and thank you to all of our current foster homes. And please let us know as you're going through our adoption process if you're interested in fostering for us. We rely on donations in order to continue helping the birds, and due to the poor state that many birds arrive in, our veterinary bills average $50,000 a month. So if you can help, please consider doing so, and we'll share a link in the chat to our donation page. And thank you for joining our event. And if you have any questions and you're on Zoom, please send us your questions in the Q&A section. And if you're watching on Facebook, welcome. Please go ahead and send us your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer those live throughout our event. So let's go ahead and look at the birds that we'll be meeting today. We're going to meet 5 Mickaboo birds who are looking for their forever home. First, we will meet Kiki White, the umbrella cockatoo, with Sophia, who is on the cockatoo team. Then we're going to meet Gizmo, the blue and gold macaw. He'll be joining us live with his foster home, Jamie. We'll be watching a pre-recorded interview of Zippy, the blue-fronted Amazon, with one of his former fosters named Kate. Then we'll come back to Jamie, who will have another foster, Ralph, the blue and gold, for us. And then we'll wrap things up with Link, the green-cheeked conure, and his foster, Sarah. And we'll be watching a recorded video of Link. And again, a lot of the birds today will be having pre-recorded videos. Most of them will be having live conversations with their foster homes. And you can send us questions throughout the event, and we will do our best to answer the questions live. So let's go ahead and roll some video of our first bird, Kiki White. And while we enjoy this video of Kiki, I want to share a little bit about adopting with Mickaboo, since this is an adoption fair. Before you can adopt from us, you'll need to go through our approval process to make sure that you're fully prepared to bring a bird home, and to make sure that we at Mickaboo fully understand the sort of bird that would be a best fit for you. This process includes a phone screen and a home visit, but it starts with our basic bird care class, which is free and held roughly every 2 weeks over Zoom. For those of you who haven't yet joined a class, we hope to see you at one soon. Our next class is going to be on Sunday, September 1st at 12 p.m., and we're going to share a link right now for you to sign up for that class. Our process will cover your experience with birds, what you're looking for in a companion, and let us meet any birds you might have or anyone who will be helping care for the birds in your home. It isn't a white glove test. You don't need to be perfect. We understand that we all live in our homes, but we just will help you identify anything in your home that could be a hazard for the bird and make sure you're fully prepared. It can take some time since we are an entirely volunteer-run organization, so please understand our adoption process is around 8 to 12 weeks, and we appreciate you for being patient with us. While we understand that everyone is enthusiastic about adopting, for us, the most important thing is making sure it's a good fit, not just a quick one. Adopting a bird is a commitment. Many of them have really long lifespans, and we want to make sure it's one that everyone can be happy with. Finding the best fit for both you and the parrot is the most important factor. So now that we've gotten through that, let's go ahead and meet our first bird, Kiki White, and welcome Sophia to our interview. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Kiki? What kind of bird are they?
So Kiki is a male umbrella cockatoo. We estimate that he's probably around 25 years old. He's been with his current owner for over 20 years. She got him when she worked as a veterinary tech at an avian vet hospital. He came in with heavy metal poisoning, and the owner left him at the vet, so she adopted him.
Got it. Okay. And so it sounds like Kiki's looking for a Mickaboo foster home right now. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And what do you think would make a good home for Kiki? What should somebody be prepared for?
So Kiki is used to being out a lot and getting a lot of one-on-one time with a person. So that would be the ideal environment for Kiki.
Okay. And is Kiki used to having other birds or animals in the house?
Uh, Kiki likely lived with a dog before he came to this owner, and because he barks and he will bark if he sees an animal outside. He barks like a dog, so he probably learned that from a dog. And then he's lived for the last 20 years with a white-capped Pyonis.
Okay. So he has had other animals in the home, so that should be something that he could be okay with. And we see him right now here chewing on a shoelace. What are his other toys that he enjoys playing with?
He enjoys wood toys and cardboard toys, and he's very, very smart. He can open pill bottles. That was the beginning shot there. He could open pill bottles that are childproof, and he likes to untie shoelaces.
Okay, so into some mischief. And does he escape from his home as well? Does he get out of his cage?
No, I don't think he can get out of his cage, but with umbrella cockatoos, especially male umbrella cockatoos, you need to make sure that the cage is locked and secure because they are very smart and they can oftentimes get out when you least expect it. He likes to dance, as you can see there. He likes it if you sing happy birthday with him. He will um, whistle and kind of sing along with you and dance. And he also is a really good talker, which is unusual for an umbrella cockatoo. Usually they just say a few words, and he says quite a bit.
Do you know what some of the phrases he mimics are?
Yeah, he says, hello, hi, Kiki. Kiki's a good bird. I love you. Good boy. Hi, baby boy. Give me a kiss. Okay. And step up. And he also sometimes combines words to make funny phrases.
That's awesome. And lots of positive affirmations in there. So if you're looking to provide some more positive affirmations for Kiki, we would love to chat with you about him. And Sophia, you said Kiki's around 25. What's the average life expectancy for an umbrella cockatoo?
He could easily make it to 50 or 60 years or longer. He's had really good nutrition and really good care. Um, and he has lots more life to live for sure.
That's awesome. And speaking of nutrition, what are some of his favorite foods? What's he eating?
So he's eating a pellet based diet. So his favorite is the small size Supreme fruit blend, and he really likes that. And he gets a few Harrison's pellets. He doesn't like them as much. And then he gets fruits and veggies. And he gets as a treat nuts or unsweetened banana chips.
Okay, that sounds like a really good diet. And what kind of cage would somebody need for a bird of this size?
So for an umbrella cockatoo, you need a cage that was at least 36 inches wide, 20 inches deep, and 35 inches high. And the bar spacing should be 3/4 to 1.5 inch bar spacing for a bird of that size.
Okay, so a decent sized home and lots of out time and attention, it sounds like.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he steps up and like as you can see in the video, he climbs up and sits on your lap as well. He'll climb up your leg and sit on your lap.
And does he seem to pick a favorite person, or does he it sound like he'll do well with multiple people in a home?
Yes, he likes men and women, humans equally, and he really is afraid of children. It's possible with the right child he might be okay, but he hasn't had a lot of experience with kids, and he seems to be afraid of kids.
That's
But
understandable. They often can move fast, which can be intimidating to a bird. And I know cockatoos have really good body language, and you can learn a lot by it. Can you share some of those common signals that you can see in their body language?
well, if their crest is up on their head, so if their crest is up, which looks like an upside down umbrella, that's why they call it an umbrella cockatoo. And if the crest is up, he's either excited, surprised, happy. It can show those kind of things. So That's when they might be more unpredictable. But you'll learn your bird and kind of know, you know, what their mannerisms are.
Right. And I know cockatoos can be on the louder end. Is that also the case with Kiki?
Well, he's a male umbrella cockatoo, so he can definitely be loud, but he isn't one that screams all day. Um, he has certain times where he might yell, but he's not an all-day screamer.
Okay, that's good to hear. And we keep using he, him pronouns. Do we know for sure Kiki's gender? And if so, how do we know that in a cockatoo?
So we know he's a male from some of his behavior, but also definitely because of his iris on his eye. It's black. So his pupil is black and his iris is black. So you can't really differentiate them easily. In females, you see either a brown or a reddish color iris, and you can definitely tell the distinction between the black pupil and the iris of the eye.
Ah, okay, that's pretty cool. A lot of parrots, you really can't visually sex them, but that's a cool trick with the cockatoo and their eyes. And then any fun stories or facts you'd like to share about Kiki that people should know?
Yeah, well, Kiki is just a really playful, chatty, affectionate bird. He is a real character. So there's a lot of personality in that package. So he really has been a wonderful part of the owner's life, and she just has health problems, and that's why she's looking for another home for him.
That makes sense. And it looks like we maybe have some audience members who have questions. So just a reminder, if you have questions, please send them to us in the Q&A box on Zoom. You can access that in the toolbar on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And Sophia, I know you've got quite a bit experience with bigger birds, and folks can be a little bit intimidated by the bigger beak, the bigger feet. What advice could you give folks that maybe are wanting to try a bigger bird but are feeling hesitant about it?
Well, if you want to try it, I think that, as long as you've read the stuff about him, I mean, I went from my umbrella cockatoo, I had only had a African gray, and I had a smaller Amazon, actually, a Mexican redhead, a smaller Amazon. But um, I just fell in love. I went to an adoption fair and I touched their feathers on the back of their head are just so soft. And their eyes are so expressive, the cockatoos. So I just fell in love with the umbrella, and I adopted my umbrella about 15 years ago and it's worked out fine. So I think if you think you're ready for it and you're willing to try, then you should.
Yeah, and we always are looking for foster or adoptive homes, and it's the same process for both. So if you've fallen in love with Kiki or you're maybe looking to foster another bird, please go ahead and get started. And Sophia, thank you so, so much for joining us and sharing Kiki with us.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and meet an even larger bird than Kiki. We're going to meet Gizmo, the macaw, and his foster, Jamie. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi.
Hi, Gizmo. What kind of bird is Gizmo?
He is a blue and gold who's trying to get over to the treats over here. He is a blue
Ah,
paw, about 27 years old. And he came to us a few years ago, actually, a couple of years ago, with an injury to his beak. And you can kind of see the divot in his beak here. He had been caged with another bird for a long time. And the owner went into a nursing home and couldn't care for them anymore. So a friend of hers contacted us with an urgent need to place. He has been with me just for several months. I can't remember exactly what month he came to me, but he um, lives in a very ginormous cage in my bird room, along with some other birds in their own cages. As you can see, he enjoys his vegetables and fruits.
yeah. What's he eating right now?
He has a chunk of raw corn. I buy organic vegetables at the market or the farmer's market, and then I just chop them in pieces and give them as part of their diet every day. All my big
That,
birds.
that's great. And I understand you have lots of fun foraging toys that he likes. Could you show us what those are?
Yeah, okay, so one of the things that I have to be mindful of is I'm a teacher, and so I'm gone from mid-August to mid-June. I'm gone pretty much every day for a good chunk of the day. And I have to think of what they're going to do all day while I'm gone. And also I have to control their diet. He has some food insecurity and he wants to eat everything all at once. And so I hang in my big birds cages these foraging toys where I put portions of their food. I load portions in and they actually have to solve the puzzles to get their food out. Slows down the gobbling impulse, and it also gives them some intellectual stimulation. They need to be able to forage and hunt for things as they would in the wild. And so all of these are different sorts of foraging toys that I use to keep them well stimulated.
That's excellent. And I think you touched on a few good points there. A lot of us have busy lives, and birds obviously need a lot of attention. So being mindful and setting that up so that they have good enrichment throughout the day. And then replicating foraging. In the wild, parrots spend a lot of their free time flying around looking for food and foraging. And so when you can give them that foraging experience at home, that's really great for their health and development. We see him up here on his play stand now, enjoying some food, and we're getting a better full look at him. He's missing quite a few feathers. Could you talk about that?
Yes, he is. So a lot of birds will pluck themselves, and sometimes it can become so extreme that they actually injure their flesh. He has not done that, but he has been tearing his feathers out for many, many years. And it's unlikely, actually, they will never completely grow back, but as you can see, he's got a bit of fuzz. If I blow on them, you can see the fuzz blowing. So he's got some fluff in there right now, and he hasn't actually plucked since that I've been able to see on the floor of his cage since he moved in here. So maybe he's feeling pretty good right now. Stress can cause them to do it, fear, frustration. Also, sometimes they will get skin conditions. They'll be a little bit allergic to something, or just have a skin condition that's itching, and so they start pulling their feathers out. He has taken all of them out on the front of his body, as well as his back, and a few off his shoulders of his wings, but his wings are still in pretty good shape. And he barbers his tail a little bit. You can see the feathers are a little bit kind of rough there, but he does kind of chew on them, but he doesn't pull them out.
Yeah, and that's something that we only see in birds in captivity. Birds in the wild don't do this kind of feather destruction behavior. And parrots are such intelligent, sentient beings, and this really is reflective of how stressful it can be to be in captivity for them. And it sounds like he's doing so well in your home, and we're happy to hear that. But we don't expect these feathers to grow back on Gizmo, is that right?
He's never going to be a fully feathered bird again, but he is still so beautiful. I was going to try to turn him around, but he's working on that food right now. He'd be pretty mad at me if I tried to turn the stand around so you could see those wings.
Understandable. And he is beautiful. And a kind of fun thing is that we get to see some bird anatomy that we don't usually see. So he's working on that food, and that's all going to end up in his crop. Could you share what that is and where?
Here's the crop, and as you can see, it has a giant lump there. It's not a growth of any kind. This is, every bird has this. They don't make any saliva in their mouth. They eat everything as is, and it goes and gathers in this crop here. If you've ever stuffed a turkey at Thanksgiving, you'll find that there's a crop there, and sometimes people actually put stuffing in there. But that's part of their digestive system. They just swallow everything, and then they have a gizzard down there, and the saliva goes into there, and the gizzard chews it, so to speak, for them. So every bird has this. It's just that it's normally hidden by feathers.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for being a model for us, Gizmo. That's so appreciative. We have an audience question that ties in nicely about the toys. They want to know, are those Jenga blocks, and what does he play with?
So they are not Jenga blocks. They are just blocks of pine wood. Sometimes you can get ones that are made of balsa for your smaller beaked birds, but these are pine. And these are actually pretty small for my big guys. In their cages, I have blocks that are up to 1.5 inches thick, 4 inches long. I drill holes through them. Sometimes I dunk them in dye. And then after they've eaten chewed all of the blocks off of this, I take it apart and I reload it with new blocks. You can actually buy the blocks online and, just redo it. And I use chains rather than laces for my big birds because they don't last very long if they're on laces. They have to have something to chew and destroy to keep their beak in good condition. The beak is
Right.
constantly growing like fingernails. It's the same material.
Yeah, and we'll teach you all this in our bird care class, the basics and the needs of birds in our homes. And besides this great veggies that he has, what food is he eating? What kind of food are you putting in those foraging toys for him during the day?
So he is on a pelleted diet recommended by many veterans.
Uh-oh, we lost our video. Let's get a second to get that back up. That's what happens sometimes, the magic of live events. And Jamie, are you still there? I think we lost Jamie. That's trouble.
Yeah, hi Megan. Sorry, Jamie's disconnected. Maybe
That's okay.
maybe we should move on to Zippy and we'll get Jamie back.
Yeah, we're gonna see Jamie a little bit with another bird. So let's go ahead and meet Zippy. Zippy is gonna actually join us with a pre-recorded interview. But I know a lot about the Amazons at Mickaboo. I'm on the Amazon team. Zippy is a blue-fronted Amazon. And in this video, you'll see him with Kate, who was a temporary foster for him. He did really well in Kate's home, and we actually have him now in a longer-term foster placement with a larger cage. So we're excited about that. Zippy's doing really well. So we're going to go ahead and watch this pre-recorded interview. And if you have any questions for us about Zippy, please send them to us and I will do my best to answer them at the end of this pre-recorded video. Welcome, Jamie. Welcome back, Gizmo. We're going to go ahead and move on to Zippy and we'll wrap up and answer any other questions, Jamie, when we come back with you and Ralph after Zippy. So let's go ahead and watch Zippy.
Megan?
Well, hi, welcome. Can you tell me what kind of Amazon parrot is Zippy?
Zippy is a blue front Amazon, and I think he's about 40 years old.
40. Okay, so he's the oldest bird of the show so far. How long could a blue front Amazon be expected to live?
I think similar to macaws, so he's kind of middle-aged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. And so, as we mentioned earlier, care and diet really is the most impactful. And let's talk about that since he's enjoying some food here. What does Zippy like to eat?
Zippy is a really, really good vegetable eater. He'll try pretty much anything. He loves carrots, bell peppers, beets, broccoli, some fruits he likes to, pretty much any fresh fruit or vegetable you give him, he'll take a nibble at. For breakfast, he has one large bird nutrient square, and then during the day he has Harrison's and Zupreme pellets mixed. And also for the fresh veggies, I do meal feeding with fresh veggies in the evening and then taking it out of the cage in the morning.
Great, and that's awesome. He's on that really good fresh veggie diet. We love to see that. Can you tell us how Zippy came to Mickaboo? I believe he's been a Mickaboo bird for many years now.
Yeah, he has, and he has kind of a sad situation. He was adopted by someone, a Mickaboo volunteer, who took wonderful care of him, and he had a huge, beautiful aviary to climb around in. But she unfortunately passed away, and because he's a Mickaboo bird, we take them back. So he came back to Mickaboo, and now he's looking for another wonderful home to live in.
Yeah, we took back 4 birds in that circumstance, and we make a lifetime guarantee to birds. Obviously, we want you to come up with your own long-term plans, but we will always take back a bird, and we did that here with Zippy. And his name, Zippy, does he live up to it? Does he zip?
He's a little bit cantankerous. He's absolutely adorable, I think. And he has quite a strong personality, both loving and grumpy when he wants to be. But he's got great body language. So in the morning, he gets pretty excitable. He's excited for the day. So I just would let him have his breakfast in the cage. and wait until he seemed like he wanted scritches through the bars. And at that point, he's ready to come out and have good manners on top of the cage. Otherwise, he has occasionally been known to jump on people when he's excited, and Amazons have a big beak, so you don't really want a big bird like that jumping on you unexpectedly. But he is pretty clear with his body language. When he wants scritches, he'll bow his head down and sort of fluff up a little bit on his neck. And when he doesn't want something, he'll shuffle away. He does in the video now, he's walking around. He does like to explore a little bit. So he definitely needs to have a bird safe environment and also supervision when he's out of the cage.
Right, yeah. An Amazon on the ground could turn into trouble very quickly, so definitely be careful with that. And I think we saw him getting a shower. Does he like that? And can you tell us some of his other favorite behaviors?
Yeah, he loves mist baths just with the spray bottle. I didn't try taking him into like a perch on an actual shower, but just the spray bottle on his cage he was thrilled with. Um, and that time he had been trying to take a bath in his water dish. So I thought it might be time for a bigger mist bath, which he enjoyed.
Yeah, and I see him here. He stepped up to a rope perch. Is that how he gets moved around usually?
Yeah, he's pretty good with the rope perch. He definitely needs to know who you are, which is the situation with most birds. He's not going to just step up for anyone. Um, so while he's getting to know you, you just as a precaution could put a towel around your hands or something. But for me, he's been very polite. Right now in the video, I'm asking if he wants scritches, and he doesn't. He wants to climb around. Um, but yeah, in general, he's very agreeable as long as he knows who you are, and he thinks you're his friend.
Yes, and I understand that he can sometimes struggle if there's other birds getting attention in the home. Is that true?
Yeah, so that was the situation, particularly where he has jumped on people before when they turn their back to give attention to another bird. I have two cockatiels in my home as well, but he did not show any interest in them at all. He didn't seem to care when I took care of their cage or anything. But with other big birds, which I don't have in my house, he he wanted to be the only big bird.
That makes sense. That's good to know. If you have maybe other Amazons and macaws, he may not like that so much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to address the cage size. So as you heard Zippy's story, he did kind of need to come back to Mickaboo very quickly. And since we do not have a physical location, we rely on volunteer homes. So we do the best to give birds the environment they can, but ideally in his forever home, he would have a much larger cage. And we will work with you and advise you on making sure that you're providing the right environment for your birds. I did want to ask a question of you, Kate. I know you mentioned cockatiels, and I think that you typically have been a person who has smaller birds. So
Yes.
what's it been like having a bigger bird, and what advice could you give to somebody that maybe wants to make that jump too?
Yeah, so I've always been very curious about the big birds. Whenever I'm in any other Mickaboo houses, I say hi to them. But I've always been a small bird person. I have a job that I'm in and out of the house and sometimes away and have pet sitters. So I'm nervous to have a bird with a lot more personality that I'm sorry, cockatiels, I love them, but is a little more sensitive to change. So this was sort of a trial run for me. This was my first time taking care of a big bird. And I just had him for about a month as a trial, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. He actually sleeps most of the day, so me going to work was probably better for him because when I was home making noise and things, he would do little grumpy noises because he was trying to take a nap during the day. Um, but he was much, much easier than I expected. I don't know, his mess was not giant. I thought that somehow the mess would be proportional to the bird size. Um, and he was just a very agreeable, easy guy. I enjoyed having him.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I know you've got a little setup now where he will sometimes come back and visit you, and that's great for you and great for Zippy. What's his noise level like? I know Amazons can be on the louder end.
He's got a wide variety of noises that he makes. He says, I think I've been joking that me trying to understand Zippy is like a Rorschach test. So I think most of the day he says, I'm a good boy, I'm a good boy, I'm a good boy, like probably hundreds of times. And he loves being told that he's a good boy. And he'll do that quietly while you're scritching him and things like that. And then he also has an old man voice when he's a little bit more grumpy or excited about something. He has this very old man voice. And I really think he's saying, they're talking about you. Which is a little weird, but it's funny. And then when I leave the house, just for a few minutes, I have heard him go, hi, 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 with increasing volume. So I could definitely hear it outside. Um, but in general, he's pretty quiet. In the evening and the morning, sometimes he would have like a oh, 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 very repetitive, loud noise, but giving him toys or starting music, he seemed to like opera music, helped with that. It would sort of distract him. He loves to chew cardboard. He has a 2x4 that is one of his favorite toys. um, so I think keeping him just interested in things helps with the noise. And in general, I really didn't think it was that loud. Certainly less loud than I anticipated with a big bird.
Thank you for taking on a bigger bird and sharing that experience. And we have an audience question. How is he with other people? It sounds like you work to build a relationship with him. Is he friendly with lots of people or just who he chooses?
I think who he chooses. So I had him for about a month, and it was just me at home during that time. And then the last week that I had him, my boyfriend came home, and Zippy was not a big fan. So I'm not sure if it was because he met me first, and then my boyfriend came home and Zippy wasn't a huge fan. He would do his wing flips and a little kind of a growl noise when he
Mhm.
came near. And we tried to introduce him, but it was only a few days, so he didn't get much of a chance to become friends with him. But I think definitely like new people would need a slow, slow and patient introduction.
That makes sense. And we're going to go ahead and move on in a moment to see another macaw. But before we do so, could you tell us any cute or fun stories about Zippy?
Yeah, something that I really enjoyed doing with him was I would put him in his travel carrier, which he very nicely climbs into on his own. And we would go outside and have morning coffee, not Zippy, just me, on the deck, and he would have some walnuts as a treat and maybe a piece of fruit. And we'd just hang out in the sun, and I'd give him scritches through his travel cage bars, and just a nice way to start the day. He loves hanging out with people.
It sounds like he was a great buddy to you, and I'm glad that worked out. Thank you so much for joining us today to share about Zippy.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for bearing with us during that quick transition. And just a reminder, Zippy again is in a larger cage now and doing really well in a foster home where he is the only bird that seems to be the best situation for Zippy. And we have Jamie back with a different bird who looks an awful lot like the last bird. Let's go ahead and wrap up on Gizmo. Any last things you'd like to share about him before we move on?
Couple of things. Gizmo is a very gentle soul. He is probably a softer touch than many other macaws. And so he makes a great friend and a great companion. He likes to just chill out and hang with you. He has some medical needs still right now due to the injury on his nose. I still have to apply some cream, and he has to go to the vet from time to time to have it groomed and make sure that the keratin is growing back. But he is a lovely, lovely bird, and someone would really enjoy his company.
Awesome. And thank you. It's good to have you back. Tech things happen. We are all used to that in this day and age.
I don't know what happened.
But I'm a little surprised you went and swapped birds on us. Who is this? Who are we seeing?
This is Ralph, and Ralph is a big bird and a big personality. And Yeah, as you can see, this is what Gizmo would look like if he had all of his feathers on the front, totally yellow body. And then, of course, the incredible blue wings going to almost almost a purple at the tips of the wings. He's magnificent. And so is Gizmo, but just missing his magnificence in a few places. So Ralph is slightly younger than Gizmo, probably in the neighborhood of 17 or 18 years old. And he came to us from the Bay Area.
And what's the general lifespan for a macaw?
Macaws can live 70 or 80 years, probably more commonly 60-ish if they have been well cared for. Gizmo is a very healthy individual at this time, but we don't know exactly how his diet could have impacted him. He lived in an indoor cage outdoors for 17 years in somebody's backyard, and it was a very perilous situation. He had been fed primarily peanuts at the time that we went and got him. They were all over, peanut shells were all over the bottom of the cage, and that is not a healthy diet, really, for a bird. They need lots of fresh fruits and vegetables and a minimum amount of seeds and nuts. And he got used to meeting his own needs by unscrewing the cage. He's brilliant. He's a very, very smart bird. And he would release himself on his own recognizance and go flying to look for what he wanted. Extremely dangerous. You do not want a bird doing that. And it ended in him being attacked by a raccoon, and that's how he finally came to us. He had cuts around his face and so forth. Luckily, completely healed from that now. Doesn't seem to have any trauma from it that I've been able to see. He's not afraid of our pet cat, and he hasn't shown fear of people or animals that he sees out the window. So he seems to have come through all right.
That's good to hear, and a sad story and a reminder of why we shouldn't let birds be flying free outside. It's a risk to them and dangerous for them.
Yeah.
And what does he enjoy to eat? What's his favorite foods? What's his diet like?
And I just started talking about that with Gizmo. Both of them are on the same kind of diet. Ralph and Gizmo both get Harrison's coarse organic pellets, and then also Nutrien cakes for large birds. They're a caked collection of seeds and pellets and bits of vegetable matter and so forth, and it's for weight control. So they each get a couple of blocks of that every day, and then I feed them a pretty good salad. I make everybody a pretty good salad every day, and so you can see I've got some, this is some chard leaves and some cauliflower, some corn, an apple, all kinds of different things, and they are big fans. They love their fruits and vegetables. I'm gonna put him up on the stand again, as I did with Gizmo, so that everyone can sort of just see his magnificence and watch him do what he does. All right.
Yeah, he's gorgeous.
Yes.
See you up there. Wow. Hey, buddy, we got some heart reactions from the audience. They think you are just absolutely stunning, because you are. And so it sounds like there's no health concerns. And Jamie, I know that you've had a variety of different bird sizes throughout your time, kind of like Kate. Can you share what it's been like having these macaws in your home and what somebody could expect that might be new to macaws?
So I'll just give you the 5-cent version of my story. I started off with a cockatiel, and then it's like Lay's potato chips. You can't just have one. So I ended up getting a green cheek, and then I accidentally became a foster to a very my first big bird, and a friend sort of like pushed me into it, and it was through a different organization. So I had Pops the cockatoo, and I was a little bit scared at first, and then I thought, it's just a bird. It's like my other bird. I can do this, and I have found that all I can say is it's an honor, a real honor to be able to care for birds of this size, to be able to earn their trust by showing them respect and so forth. I find that I am a big bird person, and I have now had 4 different macaws in my home, actually 5 now that I think of it. I've had 5 different macaws in my home. I've had 3 different cockatoos. I've had several Amazons, as well as my little birds. And I have quite a few little birds in my home now, some of whom are Mickaboo birds. You just have to look at the bird and remember it's just a large version of a small bird, and the needs are, many of the needs are the same. The emotional needs, the need for stimulation, the need for calmness, the need for respect. And you read the body language and you just do a gut check and say, I can hold out my arm. And if the bird doesn't want to come to it, I can wait and try again. The noise level is the biggest difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to clarify what you said, Jamie is not feeding her birds Lay's potato chips. She said having them is like Lay's potato chips. You don't just want one.
I have to have another bird, but I'm kidding about that. You have to stick with what you actually can responsibly care for. But I love fostering because I can care for these, to have the honor of caring for them while they find their new home, and then I can take in another lonely bird and love it and get it ready to be adopted.
Yeah, and you spoke to something really great, which is earning their trust and respect. And I think that's really important things for folks to think about bringing these birds into our homes. We have an audience question. How would these birds do with a smaller, feisty bird and or children?
I think you can have teensy weensy birds and feisty birds and medium-sized birds that are feisty birds, but the important thing is to keep them apart from each other. I have small feisty birds here. I have a Kiki who's quite a personality, and I would never allow them to be out at the same time in the same room because it could end badly. So you just have to be realistic. I don't turn my back when I have my birds out. They're supervised by me, and when the cat's around, I never look away. The cat, she's a silly little 3-legged thing, but she could still hunt if she wanted to, and she seems to respect the large beaks, but I'd never trust that everything's going to work out okay. I make sure of it by being there.
That's great advice.
As for children, it's the same thing. You would never, ever leave them unsupervised. That beak could take a finger off. So you would have to train the child. We do not put our finger inside the cage. We do not try to hold the bird unless mommy or daddy says so. And you are sure that the bird is trustworthy to do that. And it takes a long time to know whether that's true.
Thank you. And we're getting some of Jamie's teacher elements coming out, and I love that. Thank you for sharing this, Jamie. And we're running out of time here with these beautiful macaws. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about Ralph?
Yes, well, just about Ralph and the others that I have. Anybody who adopts a bird like this needs to know that they're going to take up a lot of real estate in your home. They need an extremely large cage, wide enough for those wings to spread. And so you're talking about a 4-foot wide, 3-foot deep cage that's probably 6 feet tall at least. So you have to be prepared to make this be a part of your home. As for him particularly, he's very funny. He holds conversations with a Senegal that I have. The Senegal will say, "Good morning," and he says, "Hello." "Good morning, hello," and he talks back and forth and laughs and says lots of wonderful things, but it's his soul that is the thing that you want to have. You want to have that soul in your house.
Yeah, and you can see so much of that in their eyes. They're so expressive and such intelligent, soulful beings. Jamie, thank you so much for sharing both Ralph and Gizmo for us. And if you have any questions, all of our foster homes are still here, and we're happy to answer your questions at the end of the event as well. So please, if you think of any, please send your questions into us using the Q&A box. And we're going to move from our largest bird of the event to our smallest bird. This is Link with his foster, Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, hello.
And what kind of bird is Link?
Link is a little green cheek conure.
And I know that he's been with Mickaboo for quite a while. He's had a long story with us. Could you give us a recap of Link's story?
Yeah, Link has quite the history with Mickaboo. We first took him in 2017. So, no, actually, that's not true. 2015, September 2015. He came to us from someone who had purchased him out of pity from a pet store where he did not seem to be thriving. But they were not long term, thinking that they could keep more than one bird. They already had one. So they reached out to Mickaboo and asked if we could help find Link a good home. So I was his foster back then in 2015. And we found an adopter a year later, in 2016. Link was adopted. Unfortunately, within a year, the situation in that home had changed. It was just, life changes unpredictably. And so even though they really loved Link and it was not his fault at all, they could not care for him any longer. And he came back to me and I fostered him again for a second time. And then in 2017, we were able to find another adopter that was a great fit. And they had him for almost 8 years. But then again, after some more unexpected changes and some moves, they reached out saying, would we help find him another home? So we actually had to move him back across the country. They had moved to the East Coast. So we had a collaboration with another couple of rescues that we're connected with who helped to transport him back to us. And he's been back with me since April this year, 2024.
That is quite the journey, and it kind of shows Mickaboo's lifetime commitment to a bird. We hope that any bird being adopted, that will be a forever placement, but we are here for them at any time if they do need to return. We make a lifetime commitment to birds.
Absolutely.
And can you tell us what's Link like? Has he changed since in that time period? Is he a similar bird to what you remember?
Yeah, it's fascinating. He's very much the same bird. And the first time that I fostered him, we both learned a lot from each other. I had not fostered many conures at all when I first fostered Link, almost 10 years ago now. And he was my first experience of clicker training because he was incredibly timid and scared. He wouldn't come out of his cage. When I took him home, I would open the door and try to go up to him slowly, but he was very nervous. He would hide at the back. He didn't want to come out. And all of his body language was very fearful and leaning away. He just wanted to be left alone. So I began doing target training with him, not even outside the cage, just putting a little chopstick through the bars and letting him touch it and rewarding him with treats. And I just did 10 minutes every day in the morning, first thing. And he got to the point where he would come to the door to do the target and get his treat. And then he would step out on top of the door. And then a little bit later after that, he was willing to come out on top of the cage. And then I got him onto a little play stand a few weeks later. And over the course of about 6 months, he went from a bird that didn't want to come out of their cage at all to a bird that was willing to step up onto my arm and up onto my shoulder and walk around on my shoulder. And it was all through just 10 minutes a day of just doing target training. It was a fun little activity that helped build trust. I was able to teach him a few other things as well. And his personality started coming out. And it's funny, like when I saw him for the third time, almost 10 years later, when I picked him up in April, he still says the same things and remembers all the same tricks. And yeah, he's exactly the same bird, but that first foster session with me was quite a transformative time for both of us. And it really reaffirmed to me just the power of positive reinforcement and clicker training. It's a fun activity. You're not trying to tame them, to sort of conquer a wild bird. You're helping build trust and helping them understand cues that make them feel comfortable with you. So yeah, really, he's very much the same bird. He's got all the same quirks and same tricks. And it's been really neat to see him again, although, obviously I'm hoping to help him find a forever home again.
Yeah, and for folks that aren't familiar, what is clicker training and target training? Could you give a little quick recap?
Yeah, I mean, target training is just it's one form of clicker training where you just use a small wooden stick to get them to come and touch it with their beak and target. And that's a very simple thing that you can use the clicker to reinforce. You click when they touch it and then give them a treat right away, and they start learning that when they hear that click sound, it means what they did was the thing you want them to do again. And they enjoy that because it's very easy for them to understand. They pick it up really quickly. It's a fun activity where they get some tasty treats, but they also get to build some trust with you. And yeah, something like 10 to 15 minutes is a good window of time. If you go for too long, they'll get kind of worn out and bored. But 10 minutes is enough to kind of repeat it a few times, but not fill their belly up completely with treats. And yeah, if you can be consistent about it, then it's really easy to teach them all kinds of tricks, not just targeting to a location, but going into their carrier to practice making that not a big deal, or going back in the cage when you need them to, or to station on a play stand or a perch, because you want to keep them in a safe space if something's happening. Yeah, it's just a really positive activity to do with your bird.
Yes, and all the positive reinforcement, just like us, parrots do best when we encourage them and celebrate them. And that's great that you're doing that with Link. And we've seen lots of bigger birds that have been on the bigger end of noise. How's Link?
Link's pretty chill most of the time. He has a few vocalizations he makes, but he mostly talks. His favorite thing to say is beep. So he doesn't actually beep. He just says beep. And he will repeat that a lot. So if he says beep, he's looking for you to say beep back to him. So you can have a whole conversation with him. That's a series of beeps. Green-cheeked conures tend to have this sort of little metallic sounding little robot voice. And Link is no exception. That's very much how he sounds. He goes beep. So you can beep back with him.
Is he a roadrunner or a green-cheeked conure?
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe he's aspirational. He does vocalize really loudly if he gets scared and spooked by something. He does not like large objects like vacuum cleaners and brooms. If I walk into the room with a big bucket, he will freak out. I remember the first time I blew up a balloon and walked into the room with a balloon, and he will do a series of loud calls that are alarm calls. Oh, scary thing, scary thing. And you can kind of negotiate with him. I did get him comfortable with balloons that day. Just, helping him understand that it's not a threat, and, keep it far away, and be around, and then he'll kind of calm down. But yeah, to this day, when he sees the vacuum cleaner come out, he's going to complain about it. So I would just try to avoid surprising him with large objects that you don't need to bring into the room that he's in, because he's clearly finds them disturbing for whatever reason.
That's understandable. And we're seeing some super cute photos here with veggie beak and baths. How does he like to take a bath?
He enjoys a spray shower. You can mist him with a spray bottle. He will sometimes dunk his face in his water bowl, but it doesn't always get all parts of him fully bathed. So I think you can do both at least once a week. It's good for him.
Great. And is there anything else you'd like to share about Link with us?
Yeah, he so after doing a lot of target training and clicker training and the first foster phase that I had him, we got a little fancy with our clicker training once he'd picked it up. And so I taught him to high five, and I taught him to spin. And now sometimes when he's out, he'll just randomly spin, hoping to get a treat. So it's kind of cute that he's just like, it's his way of asking for a treat now. It's just a spin without prompting. And he's also so into high-fiving that if you come up to talk to him and he's not out of his cage, he'll stick his foot out. It's always his left foot. He sticks it out through the bars and just grabs onto your finger. Because again, you never know, you might get a treat for that. So every time you go out to him, he sticks his leg through the bars and starts feeling around and grasping in the air to get a hold of your hand, which is really cute. So you can high-five him all the time and he really likes it.
That's super cute. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing Link with us, and thank you for being there for him throughout the years. That's amazing that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, he's a real sweetheart. I mean, obviously, whilst we'll always take back a bird, it's not always guaranteed to be the same foster home. That's just the way it worked out with Link. And yeah, it's really fun to have him back again.
Well, thank you. And that's all of the birds we have today. And we want to share a few things before we wrap up. So I first want to go ahead and do a recap of our adoption process. We're going to go ahead and pull up a slide that recaps that adoption process steps. And it all starts with taking our basic bird care class online, which is free. And our next class is going to be on Sunday, September 1st at noon. And we will go ahead and share a link to that in the chat and on Facebook as well. Once you take our class, you'll complete our online application. And after we receive your application, we will contact you to let you know that we received it. You'll then go through a phone interview and a home visit with Mickaboo volunteers. And after that, if you've been approved to adopt or foster with Mickaboo, we will then match you with the birds. That's the fun part. You can start meeting the foster birds and see who would be a good fit for you. And it is the same steps to adopt or foster for us. And when you're going through the process, just indicate to us if you're thinking about fostering or adopting so we can provide guidance to you on either option. Again, thank you so much for attending today's event. If you fell in love with one of these birds, please contact us and start our adoption process if you haven't already. And if nobody seemed like the right bird for you, take a look at the others on our website at mickaboo.org. We have over 450 birds who need their forever homes. Just a few more things before we sign off. First, if you'd like to support the birds that you saw today and all of the others that you didn't, it's easy to donate to Mickaboo using the links on our Linktree page. We'll go ahead and share that in the chat right now, and we'd be grateful for your support. Every dollar helps to support our birds. Second, if you haven't taken our basic bird care class yet and would like to, the next session is on Sunday, September 1st at noon, and we'd love to see you there. And if you'd like to meet us in the community and some of our foster birds, we'll be at the Solano Stroll in Albany on Sunday, September 8th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We hope to see you stroll on by, and we'll be selling bird toys and educating the community about our work to rescue companion birds. Last but not least, I'd like to thank all of the foster parents that came on today with their birds and the other volunteers who provided technical support. It takes a lot of work to keep this event running smoothly, and they did a fantastic job. Please stick with us through the credits to see who they all were, and we'll continue monitoring the Q&A for a bit longer in case you have any questions about parrots, about our adoption process, or anything else you'd like to know. Thank you so much for attending August's Adoption Fair, and goodbye for now. Let's roll the credits.